Hebrew. Hebrew. What does Hebrew mean, Brother Abe? This is a test. Hebrew. Hebrew. What does Hebrew mean? Hebrew.
Slavery out the other side of the river.
The other side of the river. The other side of the river. That went those beyond the river. Okay. And the book, the Old Testament Bible, the Old Testament book, the books of the Old Testament were written in what languages? What was the Old Testament written in? 2 languages. What were the 2 languages that the Old Testament was written in? Hebrew and Chaldee. Hebrew and Chaldee. Now, Chaldee is used in at least 3 books: Ezra, Jeremiah, and Daniel. All right? There are 11 declensions in Hebrew. 11 declensions. There are 3 declensions in Greek. So there are more declensions in Hebrew than there are in Greek. Most Hebrew words start with 3-letter roots. 3-letter roots. Okay? 3-letter roots. And this is what we mean by root. Eretz. Eretz. What does Eretz mean? What?
Dry land.
Earth or dry land. All right. That's a 3-letter root. Okay, now there are 2-letter roots. There are 4-letter roots, there are 5-letter roots, and there are singular letter roots in Hebrew, but most of them are 3-letter roots. Let's go with the Hebrew grammar now. We're just reviewing because we've got some new students here and they want to know this. Turn to your Hebrew alphabet. We're going to look at this. Now the Hebrew, if you look on the old Hebrew and the evolution of the Hebrew alphabet that you have, you'll see it going from ancient Hebrew, which I have read when I was in the Middle East, to the more modern Hebrew that we use today, and what we call biblical Hebrew. The Dead Sea Scrolls were written in a transition period, and you look at those, and you can see those in that period of time. Now, the Aleph, I might say to this, the word Aleph does not have a sound. What gives the Hebrew letters a sound? What gives them sound? The vowel markings. The vowel markings give them the sound. The Hebrew word or letter Aleph does not have it. What is the Greek equivalent of Aleph? Alpha. All right, alpha. All right, now let's just look at this word alpha for a moment. We had it up here. Okay, that's it right there. Alpha. What is the original Hebrew letter for alpha? That was it right there. That was it was an ox's head. Okay? Head, the ox's head, okay, is the Aleph. So write down beside that, Marilyn. Get your little alphabet out and write down beside that alphabet, you write down an ox's head, the head of an ox, or ox. Right there. It may already be written down there, I don't know. It isn't. Okay, write down ox.
Well, ox is written down, but it doesn't show it like that.
Okay. Then you can write it in there like that. Now the second letter of the Hebrew alphabet is Beth. Say Beth. Okay, the pronunciation of that is either for a strong B, ba, or va. All right? The word dabar, here is another Hebrew word. And I always write a Beth with a heel on it, and then the resh is like this. Dabar. Dabar is what I say. I didn't say dabar. It's davar. Only if it has a dogish in the middle of it is a strong one. That makes it stronger. Sometimes it doubles it. Dogish 40 and dogish lanies. All right, davar. 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 It is a B sound or a V sound. A lot of times when I am typing, I will hit the equivalent of Baith in V. It, in my mind, it's there, and it confuses me. The same thing with neen in Hebrew. The neen in Hebrew is like that. That's an adverb of time there, neen, now. Okay? And I'll hit that instead of an N. I'll hit a V in that, and I'll hit a V instead of a Baith on the typewriter. Languages confuse you sometimes, but you just got to keep them separated. Baith, what does Baith mean? Do you remember what the word Baith means? It stands, every Hebrew symbol stands for something. What does it stand for? Brother Abe, do you remember what the Hebrew Baith stands for?
House.
House. Marilyn, write down house if you've got that. And whoever. House. And there's two sounds for Baith, ba and va. Say ba and va. All right. Now let's go to Gamel. 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 And this is the way I write Gamel. Like that. It's got a heel on it. Now, Gamel, Neen, and several different letters in Hebrew printing, you can't tell one from the other unless you know what the word is, because they're written almost exactly alike. Gamel. What is the symbol for Gamel? Gamel. What is the symbol for it? You remember, Sharon?
No, I want to say bishop, but that's not the bishop.
No. What is the symbol for it, Marilyn?
G,
What is the symbol for Gamel?
well, there's a little thing like that and a dot in the middle.
No. What is the little? What is the symbol for Gamel? How about it, Brother Abe? Gamel. What's the symbol? What? Camel. Camel. Write down camel. Camel. What does camel mean in Hebrew?
Gift,
Gift. All right. Camel means gift. Gamaliel meant gift of God. The great teacher in Hebrew history, the one that taught Paul, was Gamaliel. Okay? Gamaliel. And then we have the word Dalith. 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 Here it is right here. Dalith. And I write it so you can tell the difference in it. There's also this, and there's also this in Hebrew. One of them's like this, and one of them's like this. Huh, yeah. Looks just alike. I try to make them look different so you can read the Hebrew. All right? We'll see them in just a minute. They're both finals, by the way. In Hebrew, in Greek, there is one final. What is that final? In Old English, there was this and this. What is this?
S.
An S. What is this? That's a final S. Now we only have final S's. They did this after 1800. After 1800, they dropped this S. And only that. If you look at the preamble to the Constitution or the Constitution, it's all written with this S and this S. This one looks like an F. If it say Congress, it'll look like that. And they used to, when I was going to school, they didn't know the difference. They would say Congress. It wasn't Congress, it's Congress. The final S was dropped in 1800. All the printing after 1800, they did not use this anymore. All right, in Greek, we have this and we have this. And this is what? That's sigma. And that's sigma. We get our S right straight out of Greek. All right? This is the S in the word, and that's the final S in Greek. And we have several finals in Hebrew. We have 5 finals in Hebrew. 5 finals. We'll look at them. All right, Daleth. Daleth means what? What does Daleth mean? It has a D sound, a strong D. If it has a doggish in the middle of it, it sounds like a D. And if it doesn't have it, it sounds like a DH, just like tacos and tacos. Tacos. Say tacos. That's the way you're supposed to say it in Greek, in Mexican, Spanish. It's not tacos, it's tacos. And The Hebrew, the daleth, the soft daleth, is a DH sound. The bar, the bar, the bar. We have two soft sounds. The var, see that? The var. Okay, now this daleth, what is it? Daleth. That's it right there, the daleth. What is daleth? What, Marilyn? Door. Very, very good. Daleth is door. And then we have hay. Hay. Look at this hay here. And we have two Hebrew words, letters that look alike. Actually, three. And you can't tell one from the other. What is that one? That's a tau, cheth, heth. Hay, cheth, tau. In the Hebrew printing, you can hardly tell one from the other. Me, I make them different. I leave a gap right there for the hay, and I make this as sharp, straight like this, and then I put a foot on the tau. So in my Hebrew writing, you can tell one from the other easily. All right, hay is what? Hay is what? Window. Window. All right. See how you're looking through a window? And now let's go to the wow. 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 Wow is like this. Now, the modern Hebrew, they do not say wow. What do they say? Va. Va. We don't pronounce it like modern Hebrew. We pronounce it like biblical Hebrew. Wa. 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 Say wa. Okay? And what is wa? What is wa? It is a reaping hook or a sickle. A reaping hook or a sickle. The sickle like you cut down hay with. A reaping hook or a sickle. It's what it is a curved knife. Okay? And you will see this on the front of many Hebrew verbs. And on the front of a Hebrew verb, what does it mean? And. All right? That's a conjunction, page 253 in Brown, Driver, and Briggs. All right, Zion. Zion. Let's look at Zion for just a moment. Zion. Zion. Now, Marilyn, Zion, what does it mean? A weapon. Because here you have like a tomahawk with a head on it. Okay? Like a club, a war club with a head on it. Okay? Zion is like a Z sound. Like a weapon. And let's go to cheth now. Cheth is this word right here. Now it looks like a towel and it looks like a hay. But it's a cheth. Now in the Hebrew printing, you can't tell one from the other. It's very hard to tell them. I always put a crown on the towel like that and drop it down so you won't mistake it from the cheth or the hay. All right? Got that one? Now, what is the cheth? What is cheth? What is cheth? What is the symbol for cheth? Marilyn.
Oh, that's easy, fence.
Fence. Fence. That's a fence. Actually, it's like a hitching rail. A fence. Now let's go to teth. Teth looks like what it is. Teth. This one you need to do. All right? A snake's head. And a snake's tail. Okay? That's what it originally was. It was a snake. A snake. So that one is a snake. The teth. Because it looks like a snake, doesn't it? Coiled up a little bit. Now let's go to the yod. 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 Yod is a very brief Hebrew symbol. It's this one right here. It is the first letter in the Hebrew name. What is that Hebrew name? Jehovah. Jehovah. We say Yahweh and all that stuff, but it's unpronounceable because we don't know how to say it. But this, if you've tried to say it, it'd be Yod. Yod. Just like that. You just be breathing. You say Yod. And what is the symbol for Yod, Brother Abe? Hand. Just like that. Hand. Hand. Just like that. Of course, you read Hebrew from the right to the left. And then we have cough. Cough. There's two coughs. There is a final and one and this is another letter in Hebrew that you don't know one from the other. When you're reading the text, it's very hard to tell. There's cough and here's cough. That's final. Cough and cough. Say cough. Cough. And what does cough mean? Look at here. What does cough mean? An open hand. An open hand. Okay? This is the final cough. And usually you will see a dit or something here. All right? And that's also for the pay. The final pay is like this, except it's got a tongue in it. All right? So the cough is a hand, and then we have a lameth. Lameth. That's very Hebrew. That's a very easy Hebrew letter. Most people learn lameth first. Okay? That's one of them. What does it look like to you, Brother Mike? You have any idea what that look like? You remember?
You almost, well, my first thought was like this, the tool that is used to cut weed at the ground.
Well, that's the other one. Okay, this one is a whip. A whip. A whip. All right, a whip. The lameth. Then, of course, there's no final lameth. And then we have the word maim. Maim. And we have two maims. And then I have one like this. I make it look different than the other Hebrew letters. I give it a little bit of elevation there, a little azimuth on the last word. Mam looks like this. That's the mam, and then the final mam is like this. And what does mam mean, Marilyn? Mam. Waters. All right. What is the word for waters? Maim. Maim. Okay. Let's go on a little bit further now. And how about neen? Neen. Neen. And there's two neens, isn't there? And I try to make these look different. There is a neen like that. Okay. And I give it a little bit of that. So it doesn't look like a pay or a cough. It's got a little bit of dip in that thing. And then the word, the final, is like this. It's like that. And you can easily mistake that for a gamel. But the gamel has got a heel on it, remember? The gamel has got a heel on it. Right there. The neen. What is the neen? What is it? Marilyn, what's the neen?
Fish.
Fish. All right. And now let's look at the psalmic. Now the psalmic and the mam look a whole lot alike, don't they? Now I do a little something different with the psalmic too. So you can tell it. I make it look like that. Okay? That's what my psalmic looks like. So it does not look like the mam. You can tell it apart easily. The psalmic. Psalmic. And the psalmic is what? The psalmic. And if you make it like mine, it makes more sense. The psalmic means prop. Now, does that look like tent poles right there and a tent on it? That looks like a prop. That is the same idea as the word amen in Hebrew and in Persian and in Greek. It means to prop up. That's what the name Hebrew word for amen is. Psalmic is a prop. And then we have the word ayin. 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 Look at that. Ayin. Ayin is that. And I always put eyes on the ayin. If the ayin doesn't have eyes on it, it's not an ayin. It's got to have eyes on it. See the little eyes? Looks like a little kind of a crawdad, crayfish, with these little eyes sticking out on little pedestals. Ayin. And that one usually is a ah sound, ayin sound, and most time the vowel tells you it's silent, but most of the time it'll come I or a or something like that. And then we have the word pay, which has two sounds, pay. And it looks like a cough, but I make it longer, and I put a tongue in it. Pay. All right? Pay. Now, two sounds for pay. One of it is PH sound like Phillips, fa, fa, and the other one is pe. And we can use this in the same name several different ways. But one of them has a doggies in the middle of it, and that makes it what? Pe. And then when it doesn't have the doggies, it is a soft sound, which is a PH sound. All right? And we have the pay, and then we have the final pay with the tongue in it. And the pay means what?
No.
Mouth. Mouth. Let's go a little further. And then we have the word sadhe. Sadhe. And sadhe is a TS sound. And we have two of those, don't we? We have sadhe. And we have sadhe. Eretz. Haaretz. This is all in this right here. This. And what is this one? What is this sadhe? The sadhe right here like this looks like a what? A fish hook. A fish hook. Okay? The fish hook. Now we go to the kof. The kof. Kof looks like a P. But this is like a Q sound. Cough is like a K sound. This one's like a Q sound. And what is this? It's got actually two old ideas. Two different old ideas from the Hebrew. There's a discrepancy on which one it actually means. One of them means the back of the head, and the other means the eye of a needle. You can see all that too, can't you? The eye of a needle and the back of the head. Now let's go to resh. Resh. Resh is this word right here. Resh. Resh. And what does resh mean? It's R like in run. And resh is what? It is the head. It means head. Barashith. Barashith. Let's look at that word for in a little bit. Barashith. That's the first word in the Hebrew Old Testament in it. Genesis 1:1. Barashith 1:1. Ahad, ahad. Okay? Barashith, ahad, ahad. 1:1. Barashith means the first letter on there with a baith on the front of it means what?
In.
It means baith is a preposition and it means in. Okay? On page 88 if you want to write that down sometime. And then we have the word rosh in there, which means what? Head. And then we have a final, an old Hebrew lost final. The tau means what? That's a plural meaning. A Hebrew plural. So we have in beginnings there. Barashith, in beginnings. All right, and then we have sin and shin. Sin and shin. Sin and shin are the same Hebrew letter. One of them is shin, and the other one is sin. One of them has a dot over this pitchfork-looking thing, and which is what? What is it? What's the symbol of this? What's the symbol of this? What is it a symbol of, Marilyn?
It changes the sound.
No. This little dot up here changes the sound from shin, right here, to S sound over here. Okay? Sin, shin. Sin and shin. Okay? But what is the symbol of it? What is the symbol? Sharon? Brother Mike?
Pitchfork?
No. Brother Abe, bail us out here. The root of teeth. The roots of a tooth. The roots of a tooth. I think it must have been an American Indian tooth, because you know that American Indian teeth have more roots than Anglo-Saxon. Did you know that? And on the inside of our teeth is a dish in the front. It's dish-shaped. That's American Indian genetic indicators. On the back of our teeth, these eye teeth here, they're in a triangle shape like this. They have a kind of a prop or something to make them stronger. American Indian teeth are the strongest teeth in the human race, except for Negroid. Negroid teeth are even stronger than American Indian, but American Indian has dish-shaped teeth. Their front teeth will be like this. There will be a dish in that, a dish. It'll be larger up here like that. But this is tooth. And since it's got 3 roots, probably Indian tooth. Okay, just thought I'd throw that little bit of genetic history in you. Now let's go to the word tau. Tau. Tau is the last letter of the Hebrew alphabet, and we're going to make it like that. So we can tell it's not a haith, and it's not a chaith. By the way, this sound here is the CH sound instead of a hey, which is the H sound over here. Taith. What is the, what did, in Old Hebrew, what did the tau look like? The cross. It was like this in Old Hebrew, like that. And by the way, we have the aleph and the tau in Greek, don't we? The aleph and the tau, or the aleph and the omega, that is. The aleph and omega, but we also have a tau in the Greek language, which looks just basically just like that. Just like the original Hebrew tau. Now, do you have any...
May I ask you a question?
Maybe.
You have on tau on the sheet a double dot inside?
No. There's a single dot there, Marilyn. The tau has 2 sounds. There are several T's in Greek. One of them is this sound right here. That's te. All right? That's a te sound. And then we have, here we have a th sound if it doesn't have a doggish in it. And without the doggish is a th sound. It is a T sound with a doggish. Without it, it is a th sound. It's a soft T. This one is always a hard T. All right? Now let's go. Do you have any other questions in Hebrew? If you don't, let's go to the Hebrew stems, the verb stems. How many verb stems are there in Hebrew, Brother Abe? How many verb stems are there in Hebrew? Number of perfection.
7.
7. All right. They are call. Call is simple, active, and we're going to go here with this word. That means what? Katal. What does it mean? In Hebrew, katal.
Real R sound.
Katal.
And
Katal. What does katal mean? It means to kill. But now let's look at it in the 7 verb stems. The 7 Hebrew verb stems, and let's see what it says. The simple active means he killed. Simple active, that's call stem. If we go to Nephal, he was killed. Passive. He was killed. Simple passive. Now let's go to PL. PL stem. P-I-E-L. PL stem. The PL stem is he killed brutally. That's the way Cain killed Abel. All right, that's the intensive active. And then we have the Puel stem. P-U-A-L. Number 4 is Puel, and that was its intensive passive. He was brutally and violently killed. And then we have the intensive reflexive, Hithpael, 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 Hithpael. He killed himself violently. All right? And then we have number 6, which is a Hiphil stem, Hiphil, Hiphil, and that means it's a causative active as he calls to kill. That's where you can say a whole lot about Muhammad. He caused a lot of people to be killed. Causative passive is a Hophel. He was caused to kill. Causative passive, Hophel stem. So now we have the 7 Hebrew stems. Now when we go translate these verses tonight, we'll understand them just a slight bit better, won't we? Now let's go to 4 and verse number 8. 4 and 8. Marilyn, what is that first word there? How do you say that? Wyomer. Thank you very much. You got an A+ for that. Wyomer. And it is Wayyomer. Wyomer. Wyomer. Wyomer Cain el Hevel. Okay, let's read this together. Wyomer Cain el Hevel Aki Wahi Bi Yo Tom Baseda Wayukam Cain el Havel Aki Waya Har Gihu. Wayahar Gehu. That's a hard word right there. Wayahar Gehu. Now let's go back and we're going to decline the nouns and we're going to conjugate the verbs. Okay? In Greek, how many parts of speech are there in nouns? What are they? Who can name them? There are 8, aren't there? Nominative, genitive, operative, locative, instrumental, dative, accusative, and vocative. Okay? And the Hebrew has equivalents to these, and we see that. When you have barashith on the front of a word, like barashith, what do we have there? Barashith, that means it's in the, it is in the locative case. In, locative, in. In beginnings, all right? Let's look at here now, Wyomer. It's third person masculine singular, cal, wow, consecutive, imperfect. It comes from Amer, page 55 in Brown Driver Breaks, page 65 in Kohler and Bumgardner, and I don't have that in here, so I better write it down. Wyomer. Now, translate that for me, brother. How about that, Sharon? Translate that for me. He said and kept on saying. That's the while, consecutive, and perfect. Okay? How about if it was while, consecutive, perfect, what would it be? He shall have said. That's like future perfect. All right, Cain. Let's look at the word Cain. And he said and kept on saying Cain. All right, Cain means what, Marilyn? Cain. What does Cain mean? Cain. What does Cain mean? It's Cain, all right. What does it mean? Brother Mike, you remember what Cain means? Brother Abe, what's Cain mean? Cain eth Jehovah. Cain eth Jehovah. Cain means what? Sharon. It means possession, gotten, or acquired. I have gotten a man eth Jehovah. When Eve had this son, Cain, when he was born, she thought she had birthed the Genesis 3:15 promise. Jehovah. He wasn't quite Jehovah, as we're going to find out. Jehovah would be born 4,000 years later. And he said, Cain unto Hevel. Look at that word, Hevel. What does Hevel mean? Marilyn, you remember what Hevel means?
Well, it's something about a short life.
That's right. It means brief. It means a vapor, a short life. The first 10 names in the Hebrew Bible are prophetic of the whole future of mankind. The first 10 inspired name, which we're going to go into pretty soon. And then Aki. Aki here. What is the word Aki, the equivalent in Greek? Aki. Adelphos. That means brother. And what does Adelphos mean? Literally. From the same womb. Adelphos. The brothers of Jesus were from the same womb. Okay. Abel, his brother. Wahi. Say that. Wahi. And he became and kept on becoming. All right. That's the word Haya. That's the root for the word Jehovah, isn't it? To become. Jehovah means he who shall become. Now let's go on. Behoyatom. Let's look at that word. That's third person masculine plural kal, infinitive construct. So that means what? In to become. In their becoming. All right? In there to become. They became in the field. They came to the field. They became in the field, literally. Abel and Cain went to a field, and they got there and they became in the field. That means to become in the field. And it comes from the word Haya, doesn't it? Now, Basedeh. What do we have there on the front of that Basedeh? What is that first letter in this? That's Baith, and what does it put? How do we decline this noun? How do we decline it? What case is this noun in? Well, the Baith gives it in the locative case, so it's locative, isn't it? In field. Now the word sedeh, there, page 961 is where you go look at that in Brown, Driver, Briggs. What does the word sedeh mean? Sharon, you remember what that is? It means moist wetland. It means like a pasture, a meadow ground where it doesn't have to have water. It has enough moisture and humidity there to cause the grass to grow. And probably it's a very high water table. In prairie, field. And then we have Wayakam. Wayakam comes from Kaim. That's the root, the three-letter root. And would you conjugate that for me, Sharon? Can you read and tell me what that is?
Third person masculine single cal while consecutive and perfect.
Okay, third person masculine singular cal while consecutive and perfect. And that means, and he stood up and kept on standing up. All right? Cain. He's a very brash, a very violent person. He stands up and he says, I'm the boss. He was the head of the human race, wasn't he? After his father Adam, he was going to be the promised son. He was going to be the patriarch after Adam died. Cain was going to be the patriarch. He was the firstborn. He was the heir of the promises of God, of the Hebrew promise in Genesis 3:15. But something happened here. He throws it all away. He gets replaced.
Well, God had a talk with him before he...
Yes, he did. God, Jehovah himself, personally talked with Cain and tried to say, why don't you tithe like you're supposed to? Why don't you divide like you're supposed to? Why don't you give the right amount? And why don't you give the right thing? Because he wanted to bring a cursed offering from a cursed ground to God as a offering, and it wasn't going to work. He wanted to cheat God and cheat his brother because he would have had to pay a whole lot or trade a whole lot of grain or whatever he was growing for a sheep or a lamb, because it takes a lot of grain to raise a animal. And then we have a little preposition el here. El. Look at that one. That's page 39 and 40 in the Greek lexicon. Hevel. Hevel is on page 211. Havel, and it means brief or vapor. And that was an inspired name because he wouldn't live very long. I think God inspired every name in these people. All right, Aki, your brother, are Delphos. John called Cain evil, twisted, ponera, a twisted individual, because he started the first false religion, didn't he? We have the beginning of false religion. We have the beginning of works for salvation in Cain's religion, in his substitute religion against Abel. He stood up and kept on standing up against Abel, his brother. And now let's look at this. Why Yahargehu? Why Yahargehu? Can you say that with me? Why Yahargehu? Why Yahargehu? And will you conjugate that for me, Sharon?
Third person masculine, singular, Kal-El, consecutive, imperfect.
All right.
So it would be he kept on slaughtering.
And he kept on slaughtering him. What we call is overkill here. He has killed his brother, but that's not enough. I remember when I was about 6 years old in my neighborhood, we had some pretty bad Hispanic people moving in there from South America, like El Salvador. What usually comes up from El Salvador?
Bad people.
Gangs. We had this guy come up from there, and he was in the neighborhood. He moved over here with these people, and he killed one of the neighbors. But he stabbed him 21 times. He wasn't just going to stab him once. He stabbed him 21 times, and several of those wounds were after he was dead. Remember when Jesse James killed that cousin of his to make it look like he was killed? He shot him in the back of the head with a Colt pistol, a Colt Army pistol. Shot him in the head, well, Colt Navy, that is. It was a 36 caliber, actually 375 diameter ball, and stuck in his head. And then after he was dead, they shot him a bunch of more times. His body was full of them, but they didn't bleed. The coroner said he was shot in the head all right, so what killed him, but he had a whole bunch of other wounds in his chest after he was dead. Now, Jesse James himself was shot 33 times. 33 times.
By one person.
No. In that war, in the Civil War, he was shot 33 times. Jesse James was shot 33 times. And he slaughtered him and kept on slaughtering him. In 1 John 3 and 12, 1 John 3 and 12, let's look at that. In the New Testament, He Cainai Diatheke, 1 John 3 and verse 12. Boy, I opened that right up. I was so used to opening this old Bible up. U kathos Cain ek tu poneru. Ein kai esphasek sein. Ton adelphon autu. Kai karin tenes esphaxen auton. Hote ta ergon auto ponera. Ein ta de tu adelphos autu dikaius. Now let's go back and translate this in English, okay? And just as Cain, out of the wickedness, the evil, this word pornography comes from this. This means twisted. He had a twisted mind, and he started a twisted religion, didn't he? A twisted mind with a twisted religion. And he kept on being an evil one, a twisted one, a perverted one that started the first false religion. And what does false religion always do to the truth? Or to any other religion? What does it do? It persecutes and kills and murders. False religion always murders. No Christian in the history of Christianity ever killed another person religiously. We don't have Catholicism as Christianity. We have Christendom and Catholicism. All of the Protestant nations or groups that came out of that basically persecuted, didn't they? Because they believed in the church-state idea, which came from Catholicism. Calvin persecuted people. Luther persecuted people. Luther called for the destruction of all the Jews in Germany. Did you know that? He said that all the Jews in Germany should be put in concentration camps, and the men neutered, and the women are not allowed to reproduce. He wanted to do away the Jewish race because he was a reader of the letters of Constantine, which, not Constantine, but Augustine. And the old, or Augustine, as some people say it today, but it's Augustine. That's the way you say it. He wanted them, and of course, then what did Hitler do when he came on the scene? All Hitler did was enforce what Luther had already said. He kept on being an evil one, and he slew, ruthlessly cut the throat of. Asphagein, that means to slaughter, again, in Greek, asphagein. 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 He slew him. He slew his brother. He slew the brother of him, and this brother means what? Adelphos means what? It's adelphon here. It's an accusative singular masculine. Adelphos means what? From the same womb. It comes from alpha, which is the negative, and delphe, which means womb. All right? From out of the brother of him, auto is third person singular, or third person pronoun, that is, genitive singular masculine, the brother belonging to him. And for the sake of charis, why? Charin is the word why? Why? He slew him. Why did he violently slay him, as we have back here? Why did he do this? Why? What? Jealousy. Jealousy. Now, I have problems with this in my family. My family don't like me. They don't like me. They don't like me because I don't like dirty jokes. I don't like slurring speech, bad grammar or language or anything like that. I don't do. And when they start telling these dirty jokes, I just walk the other way. They say I'm a prude. I'm, whatever. But that's not what I dwell on. You can remember a dirty joke in your mind before you can remember a Bible verse, because it's an evil thing. Okay. He slew him because hote ta ergo. Ta is because of the works of him belonging to him. Evil they were, but the brother of him righteous with his acts. Cain started a false religious system, and that false religious system, now Cain is going to turn on to the one that's doing the truth. And that's what we have all down to the history of religion. Most every war in the history of mankind is a religious war, is it not? The wars going on in the world, the wars going on in the Middle East is all over religion. All of the bombings, everything you see today is over religion. This is religion, okay? Now, in Esther 8 and verse 11, what happened in Esther 8 and verse 11? You remember? What happened? We have Haman trying to kill Mordecai. He has built this, he's going to crucify him. It takes him, and he builds this platform, and on this platform he puts a stake, a sharpened stake, and he greases it with some kind of oil. And he's going to take Mordecai, and he's going to strip him off naked, and he's going to be 75 feet in the air so everybody can see him, 75 feet. Pretty tall tree, 75 feet. Well, he puts him on this stake up on this platform here, 75 feet in the air, and he's going to strip him off naked, and he's going to set him, and right up through his rectum is going to go this stake. And he's going to slowly go down upon, he's going to slowly slide down on this stake, and it's going to rupture him, and he's going to internally bleed to death in a lot of pain. This was the first form, and this is the word soros. That's where crucifixion began. And these are the people that invented it. The Ninevites, all right? The Assyrians. Going a little further now. So we have Cain kept on slaughtering Abel. 4 in verse 9. 4 in verse 9. How should we say this word, Marilyn? Wyomer. What's the next word? How should we say the next word? How should we say the next word, Sharon? Hadavar. El Cain. A. Hevel. Achika. Wyomer. Lo. Yadati. Hashomer. Aki. Anoki. And how do we conjugate this Wyomer, Marilyn? Do you know how to conjugate Wyomer? How do you conjugate that verb?
What is that, third person?
We're doing real good.
Masculine, singular, Calawal, consecutive, imperfect.
And it's not even written down. You had to remember that, didn't you?
It's written.
All right. Very, very good. You're learning this. Wyomer. And he said and kept on saying Jehovah, Hadavar. And what would be the equivalent of this in the New Testament? What would be the Greek equivalent of Hadavar in the New Testament? Hologos. John 1 and 1. Kai hologos. Hologos. So in the New Testament, when we say Kai hologos, what are we talking about here? And the Jehovah kept on being in the beginning. In the beginning. NRK, ain't hologos. In the beginning kept on being the Jehovah. And John 1:14, Kai hologos sarktakenoto, and the Word or the Jehovah flesh he became for himself. Middle voice, by the way. Wyomer Hadavar, and he said Jehovah, El unto Cain. That L there, what part of speech is that, Sharon? Abe? What part of speech is this L? Marilyn? L. Brother Steve. Did that Coca-Cola wake you up yet?
No.
All right. What is part of speech is this? It's to. In English, what part of speech is to? It's a preposition. Preposition. That's a preposition. Page 39 and 40, by the way, in Brown, Driver, and Briggs. Cain means gotten or possession or acquired. Where? Where is what? We got kind of an adverb of place, don't we? The idea of it. Hevel, Abel. Where is Abel? Now, do you think that Jehovah knew where Abel was?
Yes.
Yeah, I did. What is he at? And when Jehovah came upon Adam and he said, Adam, where are you? Did he not know where Adam was?
Yes, he knew where he was.
What was he trying to get across to Adam? Adam would know where he was, and he was lost. Now here, he wants Cain to admit that he had killed his brother, but he's going to lie about it. False religion always tells lies, doesn't it? The Catholic Church, all through the Dark Ages, they prohibited the Bible because they had gone so far away from the Bible. If anybody read the Word of God, they would know that they're wrong. So the only way to keep that from them, first of all, they changed the language of the Bible from what to what? Marilyn? From Greek, Koine Greek, which everybody knew. Koine means universal language. After Alexander, 330 BC, had conquered the whole known world over there, everybody knew Koine. We saw this morning that Peter was quoting the Septuagint, not the Hebrew Bible. When he was making his speech there in Acts, the 2nd chapter, he was quoting the Septuagint, not the Hebrew Bible. Because there's a difference. You know Greek and Hebrew, you know the difference. All right? He used the word there, my beloved one. He should have used the word chesed, which means my what? Man of loving kindness. My merciful one. All right? Abel. Where is Abel? The brother belonging to you. What case is that in, Sharon?
Belonging to is,
Genitive case.
okay.
Okay, so that's in the genitive case. Where's Abel? The brother belonging to you. That's in the possessive. Wyomer, Brother Abe, tell me, conjugate Wyomer there. Wyomer.
Third person does the singular card was
And how would you say that? How would you translate this, Brother Steve? Wyomer, third person singular while consecutive and person. Cal stem while. Sharon. He said and kept on saying. All right, you getting this down, Brother Mike? It's pretty good stuff, isn't it? Isn't she a genius? The people out on the website listen to these classes, and they are amazed how smart you students are. Brilliant. How many can go from one language to the other and tell you all the parts of speech and everything else? How many pastors could do that? How many?
None.
Huh?
None. Very few.
None? There might be a few.
Few.
There might be a few. I haven't met any yet. When I was going to the seminary, I didn't get to do what I'm doing right here. I always said that, boy, I wish I could teach a class, or I wish somebody taught a class where they could go from the Hebrew to the Greek equivalent and back and forth in both of the language. Well, we're doing that here now. So
They
we're
wouldn't
doing
let
it.
you?
We're doing that. Let's go on. And he said and kept on saying, lo. What is lo? Lo. It can be L also. What is it, sister?
It's not the adverb of negation.
It's an adverb of negation. Yes, it is. What would be the Greek equivalent of that? It's not may, which is a particle of negation. Sometimes these are particles. What would be the Greek equivalent? It's ook. Ook. Ook is the adverb of negation. I think it's on page 294 in the Greek, analytical Greek lexicon too. Yadati. Let's look at this one. First person construct singular cal perfect. There are two basically verb forms in Greek. I mean Hebrew. What are the two forms? The ideas.
What was the question?
What are the two form ideas in Hebrew? Complete and incomplete. Perfect and imperfect tense. Okay? Not I have known. The keeper. Ha-shomer. Ha-shomer. The one keeping, that's masculine and singular cal participle. The one keeping. My brother, am I my brother's keeper? That's what we have in King James. Am I my brother's keeper? 4 and verse 10. Are we our brother's keeper? Why did God leave you here?
Yeah.
To lead those around you to the Lord, to the knowledge of the Lord. You don't have to go out with a curved knife and cut their throats and chop their heads off, or crucify them, or put them in jail and torture them as they did during the Inquisition. The Inquisition, what was the Spanish Inquisition, what was that all about? Most of those people that were being killed were who? Baptist Christians that were killing. They would not denounce, they would not accept the Catholic faith, so they were killing the Christians. The Catholic Church killed between 50 and 100 million Christians. That's a lot of people. Between 50 and 100 million. Let's go on to verse number 10 real quick. Got a little choking here a little bit for some reason. Wyomer, meh, asite, kol, deme, akika, so akim, ile, men, ha'adamah. Let's go back and look at this. Wyomer. Brother Mike, can you conjugate Wyomer yet? We've done this one 3 or 4 times. Brother Steve.
Third masculine, singular, cow, wow, consecutive,
Imperfect.
imperfect.
Yeah. Third person masculine singular, which is he. Isn't that nice? He did it. You got
did
it.
it.
You got an A. Did she tell you?
I was listening to
Right
her.
there.
Well, she's a
I know.
genius. And he said and kept on saying. All right, and he said and kept on saying. What is that wah on the front of that verb? The wah on the front of that verb, Brother Abe. I never used to give tests in my seminary classes because I always knew exactly what my students knew. Wah. Page 253 in Brown, Driver, and Briggs. That's where it's found. What is wah? Sharon. And, which is a part of speech? Conjunction. All right. And he said and kept on saying, Mana means what? What is it? Manna means what is it? When they saw this thing they didn't understand it because it kept on coming back. Manna was not unknown, but it was unknown that it would come in that quantity. Manna was a very, very, very special food. And it came out of the tamarisk tree, but there was only a little bit of it in a few months of the year. But here it's coming all over. All over. So God multiplied greatly manna. Okay? Ma, what? Yes.
Can you still find it over
Yes, they still have it. It's still there.
the rest?
You can go over there and find it today. Meh, that is, meh. What you have done. Second person masculine singular, cal perfect. What you have done. Hakal, or kol, that is, kol. Voice, sound. The bloods, deme. Sound bloods of your brother. The bloods of the brother of you. What case is that in? That's the genitive case. The case of possession. Your brother. Your brother belonging to you. Crying. Zoakim. So Zoakim. Now that is a Q on the end of that because that's a cough, isn't it? That little thing right here. Cough. Cough. Q sound. Tazakim. Outgroans. Mourning. Groaning. To the ears of Jehovah. Masculine plural, cal participle. Cain's murder of his brother's bloods were crying out. Where does the blood come in a child? Where does it come from? The father. This son's descendants, the blood, was crying out to Jehovah. Everyone that he would have created through marriage was crying out to Jehovah. The bloods, his bloods is crying out. Unto me, men, preposition from, page 579, 580. Ha-adamah, ha-adamah. Ha is what, Marilyn? And what page can you find that on? Ha. What's ha? It's like ho in Greek. But here it's in the feminine gender. This word's feminine. Ha-adamah. Ha-adamah. Ha is the definite article, page 206. Adamah comes from what root? What's the root of Adamah? What? Dam, which means red or blood. Okay. Adam. Adam is Adam, man. Okay. Ish is the other word for it in Hebrew. Ish and Adam. Adam is a man that's related to the ground. He's related to the ground because they came from the same source. The earth and man came from the same source. Now, man did not come from the earth, but he came from the same source of the earth to become earth because he was going to die because of sin. Okay? Ha-adamah. Your blood's voices, his bloods, is crying to me from the ground. Your relative. His descendants. He cut off all of the descendants of Abel. All the descendants of Abel. He cut them all off. Gone. There are no more. But they were there. And they were in Adam, too. In Adam. Look at that. This is the results of the First Holy War. This is the results of the first jihad. This is it. This is the results of the first Christian crusades. Oh, that just bothers me when it says Christendom crusades. Catholicism was never Christian until you go back to about 200, 300 AD, and you go back and they become Baptists at that time. Then they were Christians. But what they had become after Constantine was not Christian. They might have got some of the doctrines right, but it just kept going to the left field, didn't it, from there on. Every council they made new things. By the 4th century, they had created what? Mariolatry, the worship of Mary. Okay, and they kept on, building Mary up to the person of God. Now they pray to Mary instead of to the Lord.
So I looked it up, what you told me,
Yes.
and I couldn't read all of it. It made me sick.
Yeah.
It just really...
Mariolatry. She went right into the beatific vision and was taken there. She did not die. She was taken right at what we call the ascension, the doctrine or the bull of the ascension. You know that all of the popes are apostles as far as they're concerned, and they can make new scripture. They keep our being inspired, and they talked about the ascension of Mary, that she ascended into heaven, she did not die. They talk about the Immaculate Conception. Many people use Catholic terms for Christianity. Immaculate Conception doesn't mean that Jesus was born of a virgin, does it?
No.
What does it mean?
It means that she was...
She was conceived without sin. Mary was. That's not the truth. Mary was not conceived without sin. She was a woman just like all of women. God just picked her out. And she was a sinner. And she had to be saved by the grace of God just like every other woman that's saved. You want to go on to one more verse, or you want to quit right? One more verse? Okay. 4 and verse 11. We ata rur ata min ha'adamah asher pets ta debts pets or pots zeta, and it's a th sound too in that ta. Pot zeta et piha la chochat la kachat et deme achicha maya de cha. Let's go back and look at this word here, these words. We ata. And now. Ata is like an adverb of time. And now. And we have a conjunction on front of that. And.
Are you in 4:13?
I'm on 4:11. 4:11.
Thank you.
Matthew 23 talks about persecution. And now, cursed, having been cursed, you are. Having been cursed, you are. Now this goes into a whole branch of theology, which is a false theology, that has carried on in the Southern Baptist Convention for hundreds of years. Well, not hundreds of years, because Southern Baptist Convention isn't hundreds of years old, but it carried on in the Southern Baptist for hundreds of years. A wrong premise of theology, period. And I'll tell you why when we get through with this verse. And of course, it's going to be a pretty long class. I can't even see how long I have to walk back here because I can't look up here now. Now I got about 10 minutes to go of recording time. And now, cursed. Masculine and singular, cal perfect. Having been cursed, has been cursed. You are. Ata, you are. From, or more than, this is a comparative. more than the ground, above the ground. Was the ground cursed?
Yes.
Now, what was Cain's occupation?
Farmer.
He was a farmer. So the ground being cursed is pretty rough, isn't it, on a farmer? Is that right, Marilyn?
Yes.
How many shovels full of dirt and weeds and stuff have you chopped out there on that farm since you were born? You could fill up the Kern County dump, couldn't you? Several times over because of the curse. I got every kind of weed out there you can think of. There's a guy across the street, bought this piece of land over there, about 80 acres, and he bought it for a couple of $1 million. And he put almond trees in there. And because it was farmland, he couldn't do anything else. He couldn't do anything else with it, so he had to farm it. So he put a bunch of almond trees in there. And that land had been fallow for 10 years, I guess. And every weed known to man was in that field. And he had to spend more money on Roundup and gold and labor than he'd ever done on any field anywhere because the curse was very bad. Sharon, you mind going over there and punching those buttons? It's getting real hard up here. She knows how to do it.
There's a special.
It's a special way. More than the ground. And the ground is man's what? His relative, okay? Which, we have a relative particle or a particle of relation. Page 81. And then we have the word is patzeta. Patzeta. She has opened up. All right? She has opened up. The ground she has opened up. Third person feminine singular cal perfect. Third person feminine singular cal perfect. The ground she has opened up. Et piha. Piha. The mouth of her. Lakatath. 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 Chath, that is. Lakachath. To receive. Cal infinitive contract. To conceive. Et bloods. Bloods of your brother, belonging to your brother, from your hand. Your hand has killed your brother. Now, we have the curse of Cain. And then they go over into the 9th chapter of the book of Genesis, and they try to relate that to this one. Now let's go over to the 9th chapter of the book of Genesis real quick. Just go over in your Bible to the 9th chapter of Genesis. If I can find it in this old wore-out Bible. This one's so wore out the pages are falling out of it. Now, in the 9th chapter of Genesis, we have the institution of human government. And the institution of human government has some very particular rules to it. And verse number 5, verse number 4, verse number 3. Let's go back, okay? Let's go back all the way to verse number 1 of this chapter. And God blessed Noah and his sons, and he said to them, be fruitful and multiply, and fill up the earth. And the fear of you and the terror of you shall be on every beast of the earth. From now on, they're going to be animal. They're going to be food. Before this, mankind did not eat food. And on every bird of the sky, and everything that creeps upon the ground, and all the fish of the sea into your hand, they are given for what? For food. Every moving thing that is alive shall be food for you, and I give all to you as I gave the green plant. Verse number 4. Only you shall not eat flesh with its life, that is, its blood in it. This is very important. Blood is sacred to God. Now, the Jehovah's Witnesses take this verse and pervert it, don't they? Because they won't have a blood transfusion, which can save people's lives. I've had blood transfusions. Many people have had blood transfusions. Brother Mike, you've had blood transfusions. Probably saved your life. Sometimes they'll kill you. Didn't almost kill you. All right. The blood. You're not supposed to eat blood. You don't put... Now, when you feed somebody through the veins, this is the whole story. This is a very primitive term for putting food in your bloodstream. It's an IV, intravenous. And that was called feeding through the veins. They put salt water, saline solution, whatever in it. But then the Jehovah's Witnesses back in those days are feeding through the veins. Well, then we're eating blood if you give us blood. No, you're not eating blood. Eating blood goes into the mouth. We're not supposed to eat blood. Blood sausage is verboten. Forbidden. Surely I require your lifeblood from every beast. I will require it. You kill an animal and drink its blood, and I will kill you. You will be a dead man. That's a sentence of death. That's what it says. Even when Israel was wandering in the wilderness, until they came into the promised land, they could not kill an animal in their home or where their tents were or whatever they lived. They had to take it to the priest and let him kill it so it would have an honorable death. It would be a kosher kill. And they could not take and do anything with the blood except bury it, because it represented the life of that animal, and that animal gave its life for you. The American Indians, and I pray like this all the time. When I pray at dinner time, I say, Lord, thank you for the animals that gave their lives for us and the fruit from your earth. Because the animals do give their life, don't they? They give their life for you. That's what it says right here. This is it. It didn't come from the Indian theology or Indian philosophy. It came from the Bible. Don't eat the blood. And surely I require your lifeblood from every beast. I will require, and from every man and from every man's brother, I will require the life of the man. Now God gave Cain a tremendous curse upon him. And now if you ask these Southern Baptists in 1840, 1850, whatever, they will say the curse was they were turned into Negroes.
Get out of here.
Yeah, they were turned into Negroes. That's what the curse was. They turned him black. But there's a problem with this, isn't there? Okay? We're over here in Genesis, the 4th chapter now, and we're over here in Genesis, the 9th chapter, and this is not the same people at all, is it? This people is Cain, all right, but it's a different Cain. Whoever sheds man's blood, by his blood shall be shed, and for the image of God he made man. And as for you, be fruitful and multiply. And then he goes over here, right down in verse 24, Noah got drunk for the first time that we've got recorded in the Bible. Anyway, he drank wine and kept on drinking wine until he got inebriated. He was intoxicated. He was self-anesthesia. All right?
I've done that.
And he woke up. Now, there's a whole lots of philosophy on what happened here. But we know one thing, that Cain did something sexually wrong. Many of the rabbis in the Mishnah and the Talmud, they say that Noah got drunk, that Ham went in there and castrated Noah and raped his mother, and that the child she had, see, Noah never had any more children, did he? Did he? No. His wife was older than he was, by 100 and something years. Okay? He never had any more children after this. Except we have a child called Cain, which means gotten. And we're going to find out that Cain is cursed. God didn't curse Ham. He cursed the descendants. And that child could have been a child of incest. This is what the Hebrew rabbis say. Okay? Now, whether that's true or not, but we know there was some type of sexual problem here. And he said, cursed be Canaan. This is Canaan. This is the same word, gotten. These people lived in the land of Canaan, and basically these people, this curse was when Israel went in the land, and they would be their servants because they would build all these farms and ranches and vineyards and farms and houses and everything else, and they were going to take them from them, so they would be their servants, wouldn't they, basically, when they would go into the land after they left Egypt. A servant of servants he shall be to his brothers. And he also blesses the Lord, the God of Shem. This is Shem. This is the name. Shem means what? Name, or monument, or pillar. And let Canaan be his servant. That's Shem. That's when is this going to happen? When they go into the land of Canaan. May God enlarge Japheth and let him dwell in the tents of Shem. And this is when Israel would deny her Messiah and that the Gentiles would become the carriers of the message of God. This is prophecy covering thousands a year. Let him dwell in the tents of Shem and let Canaan be his servant. Okay. Now, the problem with this theology, look on the map up there. This God's plan of the ages. Look over here. Back there in the garden, we have the time of innocence. Then we have the curse and death. We have a time of conscience where they're supposed to do blood, offer a blood sacrifice. And what did Cain do? He was wicked. He started false religious systems that persecuted. The first jihad. The first religious persecution. Wickedness, failure. Now we have the universal flood. So all these people over there, all of Cain's descendants. Or what did Cain do? After this happened, where did Cain go? He was a farmer. Now he's going to go in the land of Nod. What's Nod mean? What's Nod mean, brother? Marilyn, you know what Nod means. How about you, Brother Abe? What about Nod? What does the land of Nod mean? Wandering. He would go into the land of wandering. He would be a nomad. But he went over there, and guess what he did over there? We historically find out. He made slaves of other mankind. This is the first slave man. He wasn't a slave, but he became a slave owner. This is when we have slavery started. Okay? He went in there and started slavery. But what happened to them? And he said he took his wife and he had children over there and he had a slave. He started the slave system. And he thumbed his nose at God and said, look, I can still farm without your help, even with your curse, because I have slaves now. Well, after the flood, all of those people are dead. They're all gone. They don't exist anymore. So the curse upon Canaan, at that Canaan, was gone, was it?
Right.
That guy's dead. All his descendants are dead. Now over here, when we go to the land of Canaan, where we go to the 9th chapter of the book of Genesis, it's a different human people. These are a different people which come from the line of Ham, which is Canaan, which God cursed because of either one thing. Either
It was in their genes.
they were bad people. God looked prophetically and saw that these people in there were a bunch of homosexuals. Queers, whatever you want to call them.
Pervert.
Sodom, Gomorrah, and all of those cities were full of homosexuals. They were. Just full of them. Not only that, they were having sex with animals. Venereal disease was rampant in Canaan. And when God told them to go in there in some of these places, what did he tell them to do?
Annihilate.
Kill every man, woman, and child and animal. Don't let any animals live, because they were infected with the genetically deformed and diseases, bacteria, and viruses that they had. He had to wipe it out. So that's why. Why did God tell them to go in there and kill all of them? Not because God was vicious. Not because God was carrying the sword. He wasn't trying to go in there and convert them. Some people were saved, weren't they? We have the Ruth the Moabitess. We have Rahab the harlot. And we know that they are even in the lineage of Jesus Christ. Okay. Some of them were saved, but evidently they weren't infected, were they? But what if God had let them go in there and take this over? And some of the houses were infected with what?
Leprosy.
No. Well, it was leprosy. That's what's called in the Bible. What was it? What was it, Sharon?
Moles and
But what is that? That what was there? Brother Mike, what was that? You're a medical educated person. What we call a staph infection. Staph infection is what it was. Some forms of leprosy were staph infection. The boils in Egypt was staph infection. Staph infection spreads pretty bad, doesn't it?
Yeah.
All right, and it can get in cloth. It can get in buildings. All this, it can hold this. That's what the leprosy in the walls were. Okay, and he told them to go in there. There was staph infection, the venereal disease, all over in this land. All right, that's all you get for tonight. Let's have a word of prayer and go out and do something eternal.
I got a
All
question
right.
afterward.
And he brought up Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yes, he
So-
brought her down to hell.
Ham is considered Cain.
Ham was the father of Canaan, which is Cain, which was in the land of Canaan,
Ham.
which is Palestine,
So
which
Ham.
was going to be the land that Israel was going to inherit
So it's-
from them, because they were going to be slaves. They're going to go in there, and everything they built up, God was going to give to another people because of what they were. These are the descendants of Canaan, which could have been a descendant of incest, and they were really perverted always. And God knew that that would happen.
Is it fair to say that Ham was a pervert?
This what?
Is it fair to say that Ham is a pervert?
Evidently he was. Okay, but he had other descendants.
Right.
Okay, he had other descendants. The Egyptians were descendants of him, all of these people. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
From his wife
Thank you.
before this.
I got it.
Okay? Because he had children also. And you can go find them in the book of Genesis, which we're going to cover later on. Let's have a word of prayer. Our Heavenly Father, we come to you. We thank you for your word tonight. We thank you for all of the revelation of it. We thank you for the far-reaching revelations and prophecies. And thank you, Father, for your grace that saves us through your Son, Jesus Christ. Let us adhere to that and spread your word as we go out daily. Let us do something eternal. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.